Greetings, fam, and welcome to another edition of the most powerful platform for truth, bar none, anywhere across God's green earth. This is the Red Pill Diaries, and I'm your host, your humble brother, Rashid. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for joining me and giving me another hour of your day. I mean, because I know time is precious, and I know that we all have a lot to do in our own lives, and we have a lot to do. So I really appreciate the time that you have allotted to me, sincerely from the bottom of my heart. I want to give a shout out to Musa, Musa A from London, the first person in the chat. He was the first person in the chat, so he says in the house early seat in the front. I want to give a shout out to V. Olaf's Dottir. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. And you know my girl Holly Horn. Um, give a shout out to BRICS and SCO, which is the BRICS and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. So let's get it. It's a lot of stuff to talk about. It's a lot of stuff to chop up. Hey, let me tell you guys something. I was planning on doing a show earlier, but we could not cut up the clips. We've been having problems cutting up these clips that I need to do this show. I wanted to address a person who did a show yesterday, and the show was real good, but there were 7 minutes in the show that needed to really be addressed. So if my son and I can get those 7 minutes and chop them up into a minute or two segments, we'll try to do that tomorrow on Rumble or tomorrow on Odyssey, and we may even try to do it on YouTube if we can do that. So charge it to my head and not to my heart that I was not able to do that. And shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's looking at us on your smartphones, on your TVs, on your computers, and whatever instrument now they have that you can watch the platform, the Red Pill Diaries. Now let's go into a lot of things because we know what's going on. We know some of the stuff that's going on in Palestine, occupied Palestine. But before we address some of the things that are going on in occupied Palestine, there are so many other things that are going on around the world that have direct correlation with the events that are taking place in occupied Palestine, okay? Now, for those of you who may not know this, that I want to return you guys to an area of the world that America right now is trying to make everybody forget, okay? And in Africa, there are a few things going on in Africa that a lot of people need to be aware of. First of all, Chad, the nation of Chad, is going against the United Nations and is also pushing out colonizers. We see there was an attempted coup in Burkina Faso. The chief of staff was arrested. I guess he gave in to the dealings of was it Burkina Faso? Yeah, dealings of the West. He was arrested. The coup did not go anywhere. I also want to tell you this: we got to get these little tidbits in because this is news, so we got to cover so many, and we'll make the connecting point shortly. But just let me drop a few dots, okay, and then we'll draw the lines and show the big picture, okay? So there's an article out in RT, and it is titled "African Nations Orders UN Official to Leave." Now, this is the Nigerians, the nation of Niger. Remember the one that just ousted the Western bad coup, the Western bad government that was selling the French uranium and gold for pennies on the dollar. Remember that? And how the United States, French, and the rest of the Western world have been trying to overthrow the popular leader of the new government, the new president, okay? So I want to read something to you all because we're talking about Chad, we're talking about Niger, we're talking about Burkina Faso, we're talking about Mali, all of this stuff and how it connects to what's going on in Palestine, all right? Because remember, these are fires that were lit by colonialism. So when we look at the situation that is going on in Palestine, we see a 5-alarm fire going on, and it was lit by what? Colonialism. We see the growing dissatisfaction, growing anger, and a rising up not only of the people, but there's movement across these nations to rid themselves, to finally break the shackles of Western colonialism, okay? This is something that we must keep in mind. And all of this stuff is interconnected. What you see is the British and the U.S. empire under tremendous strain. What you see is French colonialism and European colonialism and exceptionalism strain it at the breaking point. So let's read this article real quick. Okay. It says the organization has sabotaged Niger's full participation in international gatherings, Nigerian coup leader has claimed. Niger's military government has ordered the resident United Nations coordinator in the country, Louis Albin, to leave Niamey within 72 hours. The expulsion announced in a statement on Tuesday is in response to the authorities' claims that the global organization was interfering in Niger's diplomatic affairs, in particular by preventing it from attending international gatherings. Now, the United Nations is supposed to be a free body, and neither the United States, Russia, or any of the permanent members of the United Nations are supposed to interfere in the domestic affairs of these so-called independent nations. Neither, because the United States being the host nation, neither is the United States supposed to use its position of influence to interfere with diplomatic staff and ambassadors or whomsoever that are supposedly traveling to the United States to represent their nations in the United Nations body, or any little briefing that they have going on. Okay, so we see Niger is pushing back. This is something, because I'm trying to go fast, because when I slow down, we're really gonna get into it. Okay, so everybody, you guys bear with me. All right, I see the chat is jumping. Thank you so much. Continue with the conversation. I'll go in a few minutes. I just want to get these quick things before your eyes so that we can start talking about the causes and how to remedy them, and how they're connected with Palestine and Israel, and how they're connected with Ukraine and Russia. And we got to look at the common denominator in all of these brush fires that are taking place around the world. We have to find the common denominator. And this, once we find the common denominator, then we can hone in on the cause of the despair, the outrage, the anger, the resentment, and the push for war. We can do all that once we find the common denominator. So let's look at this again. So in another thing, we find that, where is it at? Right here. Okay. Yes. French troops are being forced to exit Niamey. As a matter of fact, you didn't know this, on October 11th, the first convoy departed Niamey under a local security escort in the direction of Chad. Now, instead of France, listen to me good. France has cargo planes, they have transport planes, they have civilian planes. Instead of them pulling out, as they promised, from the Sahel region, those nations that are bucking up against former colonial rule. Let's go into this real quick. I want you to see something. This is a pattern here. America, when the Iraqis demanded America to leave, America ignored the will of the Iraqis and said that we'll draw down. They didn't say we were going to leave. They said we were going to draw down, even though 90+% of the people of Iraq demanded America to leave. Now, we talk about democracy, right? Isn't that democracy? Don't you supposed to listen to the will of the people? 90+% of the people of Iraq demanded the United States to leave. The prime minister, multiple prime ministers, and the president of Iraq demanded that not only the United States leave, but the so-called coalition that backs the United States to pick up, take their weapons and all of their troops out of the nation. Has America, has the UK, and has the coalition of the so-called willing abided by the will of the people, or abided by the will and the instructions of the legitimate authorities of Iraq? No. We see a pattern here. These former colonial powers, once they're in there, it is hard as hell for them to get out. Listen what it says here. French troops begin exit from Niger. The first convoy departed Niamey under a local security escort in the direction of Chad, according to the African nation's new rulers. So Niger wasn't taking any chances. They escorted some French troops out of Niger. Now look, it says, and I'm reading this for the first time with you all. I always break these articles. I'll save them, but I'll read them with you for the first time so that we can discuss them together. Let's go a little further. France has begun withdrawing soldiers from its bases, not base. Remember, the United States and the Western media said that France has about 1,500 troops in its military base, singular, in Niger. In its military base, singular. Look what this article says. France has begun withdrawing soldiers from its bases, plural, in Niger. Let's say that again. France has begun withdrawing soldiers from its bases, plural, meaning more than one, in Niger, with 3 flights carrying French special forces personnel and equipment leaving Niamey on Tuesday, according to the West African Countries News Authority. Now, hold on one second. I want to bring something up on the screen for you all, okay? All right. Give me a second. You know how we do this. We do this live on the spot. There's no need for us to pre-do anything, because I believe so much in what I'm doing that I can do this off the top of my dome. Okay. Now let me pull up a map right here. Let's see if that's a map. And okay. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see how this will go. All righty then. So okay. So I'm gonna pull this up on the screen for you all. All right. I'm gonna put this up on the screen for you all so that you'll see where I'm going with this. Share screen. Boom, 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 boom. All right. We'll see if this will pop up now. All right. All right. It should be on your screen right now. All right. Now let me see about enlarging it real quick for you all. And I'm going to. Now I want you to see something. All right, we'll make it a little smaller. We'll move the map up a little bit so that you can see it a little better. It's something that I want to show you, okay? All right. Now, if you can see this map here, where my little cursor is from, I'm moving my cursor so that you'll see it. I'm putting this cursor on Niger, right? Look where it's at. Now, I'm making a move from Niger to France. You see that? From Niger to France. Let's do it one more time. From Niger, and where my cursor stopped at, according to the map, that's France. Why weren't the French troops moved from Niger to France, since that is not a fantastic distance? Why was it moved here when the military of Chad and the people in Chad said specifically that they did not want French troops on their soil? What is so hard about going from here to here? And why must you go from here to here in Mali, here to here in Chad, here to here in Sudan? Why can't you just go from here to here? What is so hard about that? You have the wherewithal to do it. It is because of the ingrained, institutionalized exceptionalism. I'm better than you. You're an African nation. I look down on you because I colonialized you, and I think that I'm better than you, so I don't have to adhere to democracy. I don't have to adhere to the will of your people. I don't have to adhere to your government, because your government and military do not have the wherewithal to boot me out. But would they do that to Iran? What if the Iranians told them to get out of Iran? Do you think that they would stay there? What if, look at the look at the Algeria. Algeria, a former colony that has a nice military, a real good military now. It is armed to the teeth with Russian air defense systems, Russian warplanes, submarines, everything. The Algerians told the French, we're not going to allow you to use our airspace to bomb Niger. Did the French fly their planes in there? No. Why? Because the Algerians have a punch. I'm not saying that they can beat the French. I'm saying that they pack enough punch to cause more than a bloody nose. What about, do you think, look at the situation when the Asian nations booted out France from them, because you know France colonized a lot of Asian nations. When these Asian nations got the economic and the military wherewithal, look what happened to France. She left. She only kept a few islands that were militarized, a few areas. Do you think if she was in Korea and the North Koreans said get out of North Korea, do you think she'd still be there? Why? Because the North Koreans had packed a major military punch, right? So she's ignoring the very will of the people whom she claimed to be fighting terrorism for. Make that make sense? I'm asking. Okay? So now, we have an understanding of that. You see that map. Instead of her, let me go back to the map real quick. Instead of her going and leaving, leaving. I want to pull up something while I'm on this. Let's see if this map will show me. All of these nations right here, if you see my cursor, all of these nations and the ones below them have demanded France to leave. France refuses to leave. She says she will protect her interests. Now, I want you to understand something. That is code for colonialism. How can you tell me that your interests lie in my country when my country is telling you that we don't want your nose in my country? We're saying that our interests lie here. We're not in France demanding France do this, and we're not in France occupying French territory and ignoring the French people's will or the French government. You're here. And then when you overthrow the governments, you destroy and destabilize the institutions that uphold government, you started whining and complaining about an influx of migrants. Oh, they've turned certain areas into crime zones. Well, you turned whole nations into crime zones. You're looking at it on a small scale. These people are looking at it from a major scale. At least you can contain a neighborhood. You go into their country and destroy the entire country. And then whine about the economic and cultural ramifications which you ignored back in the country that you just destroyed. Man, I'm telling you what. So, again, let me look in the chat while I'm talking on this. I said I would look in there, and I will. And I'm going to keep along this line. Shout out to Flying Crocodile. Shout out to Joel Bradford. Shout out to Eco Bella. Red Pill family. Shout out. CC Chi, you're in here. Salute. All right. Let's see. I'm going to let you guys talk. Colonialism. That's right, Holly. That's right. That's colonialism. I ignore the will of the people unless it suits me. That's what the West does. It's crazy. But let's go a little further. All right. It says 2 of the flights transported 97 special forces elements, while the 3rd was dedicated to logistics. The recently installed military government claimed in a statement published by state media on Tuesday. In addition to the departures by air, the authorities stated that the first land convoys of troops in Qualam, a town in southern Niger, had left towards Chad under escort of the Nigerian Defense and Security Forces. Now, excuse me, France, Germany, and the Western world can deploy quickly. They can pick up and deploy warplanes, B2 and B1 bombers. They can use cargo planes and stratoforce fight bombers and all of this stuff, and they can deploy troops in an instant any way they want to. What's the problem with them extricating those same troops out of there with the same means that they use to put them in there? It doesn't take the United States 4 months to deploy. Look what happened in occupied Palestine. As soon as this occurred, she immediately deployed an aircraft carrier group to the region. And now she's deployed a second one. Like that. It didn't take her 6 months. Why is it that it takes colonial nations forever to withdraw their colonial tools which stir up trouble in these nations? I'm asking these things. All right. So now let's go a little further. Now we're going to go to something else real quick. I just want to show you the problems that are being caused all around Africa and how it pertains to what I've been telling you. Sooner or later, there will be a war in the MENA region, MENA. That is an acronym that I have been using for roughly 13, 14, maybe even 15 years. MENA. It means Middle Eastern North African region. That's an acronym for that. Okay. Now, this is why I'm telling you about what's going on in Africa, so that we're looking at what's going on in occupied Palestine, what we're looking at in Lebanese territory, what we're looking at in the Syrian territory, Iraqi territory. All right. So again, there's an article. It says France creating tensions in Chad. Now, remember what we just read. France is deploying troops to the Chad region. They left Niger and they're going into Chad. Remember, I told you that neither the Chad people or the people of Chad or the government of Chad wants them there. So let's go here. I'm reading this for the first time with you too. The African country doesn't need external forces to ensure its security. Evariste in Garland told RT. Chad does not need the French army to ensure security. Political analyst, the guy that I just said, told RT. Anti-French sentiment has been growing in Chad as opposition leaders have signed a joint statement demanding that French troops leave the country. Now, what about the United States? What about the UK? What about Canada? What about Germany and the European Union screaming to the top of their lungs like they're doing in Ukraine about the territorial integrity and the sovereignty of Ukraine and the will of the Ukrainian people? Why aren't they talking about that in Niger and Chad? The Nigerians said they want the troops out. France told the public they only had one military base. We find out that they had several military bases, and the Nigerians are kicking them out. You just heard me read that the people of Chad and the government have signed a declaration saying that they don't want them there. And where did Chad? Where did the French troops leave Niger and head to? Against the will of the people of Chad and the will of the people, the government of Chad, right? Yeah, we're going to pretend that we're about democracy and respecting national sovereignty and territorial integrity. We're going to keep that facade up, okay? Okay? So, this is a spill, though. What I'm telling you this is something major is going on behind the scenes that you don't know, okay? There's a buildup for war over there. And France and Canada, yeah, Canada too, Germany, Italy, the US, the UK, and everything that is known as NATO continue to use their proxies, which are Boko Haram, these terrorist groups with these so-called Islamic names, right? And ISIS and Al Qaeda. And again, I tell you, let's look at ISIS. Let's look at Boko Haram. Boko Haram is in Africa. It didn't come there until the United States and NATO came there. And then it started kidnapping and killing Muslims, screaming Allahu Akbar. Within 1 hour of Boko Haram appearing out of nowhere, the United States knew the whole history and every leader of Boko Haram. How is that possible? Let's go to ISIS. When ISIS popped up on the scene, because Al Qaeda had used up its utility for the West, the boogeyman was no more scary. So they had to come up with another terrorist group. And so they come up with ISIS out of nowhere. The United States knew every makeup of the so-called ISIS terrorist group. They knew all of the top leaders, which tiers were focused on this, which tier was focused on this, how did they receive their information, all of that stuff. The U.S. knew that. How did that happen? Let's go to 9/11. I want to go to 9/11 because this has everything to do with that too. So listen. So we see buildings collapse. All right. And we see the heat so hot that it collapsed concrete and steel. And I remember watching when this took place, and I was watching CBS, and I was flipping CBS, NBC, ABC, and I remember this very vividly. You can probably Google it. It's probably still somewhere on the internet, so that you'll know I'm not lying. Within the first hour of this, the United States already had known who, what, when, how, and where. How is that possible? How? When we still have unsolved murders in America. How? And check this out. On the news, they were reporting that passports of the so-called terrorists were found by the destroyed buildings. Now, I want you to think about this, because most people don't put this to mind. The planes crashed into the buildings. It was so destructive, according to the official story, that it was so strong and so explosive that it destroyed reinforced steel, reinforced concrete, melted it to the ground, and paper passports survived. I want you to understand that. Paper passports, not of the so-called victims, but of the so-called hijackers. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I'm definitely not the butter knife, okay? Don't try me like that. Respect, like I said, respect my authority. Respect my intelligence, please. And so we have all of this. We see what's going on. Let's go to somewhere else. Let's go to the Sudan. This is something that a lot of people are missing. The Sudan. Let me go back here for a second. Let me see if I can bring something up on this, because a lot of us, let's see, don't understand what's going on, and we don't see that this is an effort by the Western world to try to maintain hegemony. All right, but in the Sudan, it is boiling over. As a matter of fact, let me pull it up real quick. Sudan. See if we can pull it up real quick. All right, here we are. On October the 16th, which is today, there was an article that came out, said 9,000 killed in Sudan hostilities, according to the UN. Now, according to the best estimates, about 3,000 or 4,000 are killed in occupied Palestine. Not a bit of coverage going on about the Sudan. Not one bit of coverage is going on. 9,000. And guess what? The French are, and the US and the UK are assisting in the destruction of the Sudan. Why? Because the Sudanese government had offered the Russian military a naval base there. I'm telling you this. Let me go back. Let me see if I can pull something up for you real quick. Okay. Let me see if I can pull up a better one. A better one. Give me 1 second, everybody. Let me see if I can pull up a better map for you, because I want to show you something, because this is very important. Let's see if Pinterest will allow. Oh, sookie. All right, I got a map that I want to show you guys. All right, give me a second. Let me see. Will it add to the screen? No, that's not the one. Let me stop this one. Stop screen. And let me add a new. I want to add this map because I want to show you the significance of this. It's tied to what's going on in Israel, in occupied Palestine and Israel. Let's go here. Share this. It should be on the screen in just a second. You see this? Now let me see if I can make this a little bigger for you. It's big on my screen, so let's see what we can do. That should be good right there. Let me go back to my StreamYard to see how it looks on here. Oh, and by the way, shout out to the people who are watching via Odyssey, and shout out to the people who are watching Rumble. I'm sorry, I didn't say this at the beginning. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. I should have said that from the beginning, but I wanted to address what's going on. I thank each and every one of you platforms for joining, for the people on those platforms for joining me. So Now let's look at this. Now I want you to follow my cursor. Let me see if you can see my cursor on here real quick. Let's see. All right, my cursor is on there. So I want you to see something. Let me see. Let me look on his phone. Give me a second. I want to see if you can see the cursor. All right. Let's see. Give me 1 second. I like to prove what I'm saying, okay? Let me pull this up real quick and see if you can see my cursor moving across the screen. No, okay, you can't see my cursor moving across the screen. All right. I want you to see something. All right, let's go down to on your screen. Let's see where it's at. Now this is the part. Okay, right to your I guess this is to your right. I don't know how it is. Let's go down here to Somalia. Okay, right down in that yellow part. Right to I don't know how this is. I'm trying to get my mouse, and then it's not doing it. It is not doing it. I'm trying to see if let me see something real quick. My cursor is not doing it. I guess that won't let me do it on here. Okay, but anyway, in the yellow, there's a Somalia down in the yellow on my side. From where I'm looking at, it'll be on my right side, but I guess it's your left side facing. I'm not sure, but there's Somalia. Somalia is being balkanized into Somalia and Somaliland. Guess who's there? The United States. All right, look at Ethiopia. Ethiopia is in a little turmoil because of the United States, and she's trying to divide the country because they found some resources that they allowed China to survey. All right, now I want you to look. There's a little red dot right by Ethiopia and Somalia, a little red dot. That's Djibouti. All right, that's the nation of Djibouti. There, they have multiple military bases. I think there's a UK base there. There's, I think, a Canadian base there. There's a French base there. There's another Western base, and there's a Chinese naval facility within 5 miles of each other, right here, right in that little red dot down there. Now on the other side of that red dot, there's a almost like olive green color. That's Yemen. The UK, the US, and Israel are occupying the strategic islands in that waterway, which takes us from the Arabian Sea into the Gulf of Aden. All right? I want you to understand this. It takes us to the Gulf of Aden. Excuse me. I think I just messed up on this. Hold on 1 second. Let's see if I can make this bigger. So we go from the Gulf of Aden into the Red Sea. We can go up through Egypt, and now we're in the Mediterranean Sea. That waterway, you see this waterway. Now, if you look at Sudan, it's an olive green, almost an olive green country on the left side for me. The United States, France, the UK are balkanizing that. They're trying to break it up because it offered a naval facility to Russia. So what you would have had in this waterway was a Russian naval facility and a Chinese naval facility, which means that America would not have supremacy naval with the naval component there. And anything that would be brought to bear by Israel, France, Canada, Germany, the United States, or the UK could have been met and matched by China, a combination of Chinese and Russian firepower. Right? They did not want that because the BNR, the Belt and Road Initiative, goes through this area. It goes through this area. So now, if you go up to the Sul, I mean, you go up to Egypt. Excuse me, I'm looking at Saudi Arabia or the yellow one. The United States has bases there. The United States have bases in Jordan. The United States has bases in Syria. The United States has bases in occupied Palestine, has bases in Iraq, right? And in Egypt, they're destabilizing Egypt on the Sinai Peninsula. All of this is for U.S. and Western hegemony. Do you understand what I'm saying? All of this is for that. You can see it right there. So what we're watching What? U.S., Japan, Italy, France. Yes. Japan has a base in Djibouti. Yes, that's right. That's right. So all of this ties into what's going on in Israel. We know we say Palestine, occupied Palestine, but for this moment, I'm going to say Israel, because the United States needs a base where they can access at all times, regardless of there's political pressure. It may come in Jordan, may come in Syria, may come. They need something like a guaranteed aircraft carrier, an immovable aircraft carrier in the Middle East. That's why they're occupying Palestine. And by the way, there was a survey done in the waters of Palestine, where Palestine and Lebanon has huge, and Syria have huge untapped oil and gas deposits out there. There comes, there's no coincidence. Huh? So what you're seeing is an empire in crisis, an empire fighting for survival, an empire, the American empire, the Western empire, under tremendous strain, and we transition to occupied Palestine. Okay, so let me go to something I want to bring. So they say Israel's existence is at stake. This is what they say. What about Palestine's existence? Palestine existed before you. And when you were transposed and put on Palestine, it ceased to exist as Palestine. So why is everybody concerned with the so-called existential threats that are being posed to Israel, and they are ignoring the existential threats that are being placed on the back of Palestine? Now, let me go to something real quick. I gotta go to this real quick. Give me this. Now I want you to understand what I'm talking about. Where is it at? Right here. Now, right here, the U.S. Just, I want you to understand what's going on. Okay. Hey, I'm trying to watch the show a little bit down here, but YouTube is doing something to this thing, man. What in the world? Hey, everybody hit the like button. Subscribe and hit the like button, okay? Let's beat the algorithm. Let's beat this algorithm. Okay? Now, the United States has said that they will stand with Ukraine as long as they can. I mean, forever. Or that's what they were saying, as long as it takes. And we will stand with Israel as long as it takes. And we have enough weapons and whatever to supply both. And then they come out and say, well, we don't know about if we have enough indefinitely for Ukraine, but they're coming up with stuff for Israel. Look at the cost. This is what I'm saying. The article comes out today, is titled, U.S. Can't Afford Two Wars, Treasury Secretary. Hold on, stop right there. But we can afford one. With the explosion of homelessness, with the growing divide between the haves and the have-nots, and the 1% to 2% that have so much wealth that they have more than all of the others combined, with the tax revenue almost in the sewer. How in the hell can you afford one war? You can't. You are printing money into oblivion to try to maintain your rule. And here's the thing before I address this article. Those people in Washington, they don't sit down and think, hold on, I've alienated all these people. Maybe if I pull back a minute and show some signs of humility and regret and contrition, maybe that'll buy me enough time to recuperate a little bit. No, all they know is constantly putting their foot on the gas, alienating people, provoking people, overthrowing people, destabilizing people, waging war on people, bombing people, threatening people, and then they want you. Now, if you go in the public and you threaten somebody, that's uncivilized. But the government can threaten, bomb, rob, kill, maim, and occupy anybody, and that's justified because America's security interest is at stake. Man, if you don't get out of here with these lies. Listen to what this article says. Washington is more than capable of supporting countries' overseas interests. Janet Yellen has said. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Monday that Washington can certainly afford to support two wars on two separate fronts, saying that its coffers are in good shape to continue backing U.S. interests overseas and its support for Ukraine and amid ongoing tensions in the Middle East. Now, I want you to understand something. So for all of the veterans who are retired and all of the people who are listening, Maddie's in the building. Salute, Maddie. I want you to understand the contempt that the American government has for you. While you come home shell shocked, some of you, and half the person that you were before you left here, or in need of counseling or guidance or financial aid, when you and your family, some of you have to subsist and exist off of food aid and all kinds of help from all these organizations, because America cuts the funding for the veterans who have already given their everything to defend America and its Constitution. She cuts benefits, right? She does not provide all of the things that are necessary. That's why so many veterans out there in the streets with these "will work for food" signs. Hi, Rashid, keep doing the good work. Thank you, Random Zerg. Thank you so much. Now, do you not believe that the billions that are being given to Ukraine and the billions that are being given to Israel would better suit America's interests domestically? If Israel says it's a sovereign country, then what the hell are you over there for? It is sovereign matters. Whether it is overrun or not, that has nothing to do with you if it is truly sovereign. Huh? If you dealt with your sovereignty within your own borders, right, you can eliminate a lot of the problems that your mess making continues to promote. You can fund education and healthcare. I'm not talking about a healthcare that is predatory like the system right now. You can help those people who need debt relief. You can help those people get housing and apartments and stuff. But that is not a national security issue. Israel and Ukraine are. Remember this. He who defends everything defends nothing and leaves themselves exposed at home. How in the hell can you say you pro-military when after you've used up one batch of soldiers, sailors, Marine, and airmen and women, you leave them to fend for themselves? They didn't leave you to fend for yourself. Huh? When you pointed them at an enemy, even though they never knew that was an enemy, they went there willingly to give their lives for what you said. When they get back home, you cut the funding off. And you look at them as if they're beggars when they were willing to give the greatest thing that you can give is to sacrifice your life. Huh? The hell you gonna do something like that and you can find money in appropriation bills for wars across the pond over there? Man, I'm telling you, see, this does not fly with me. I'm sorry, everybody, but I have to speak truth to power. And even if I alienate you, it is what it is. Don't get butthurt because I'm going to tell you the truth regardless. Okay? This is crazy here. You ask them for debt relief and they will, oh, we don't have it. Look at the people in Hawaii. A one-time $700 payment. And they've lost everything. And then you can appropriate immediately at the outset of hostilities, you can appropriate $5 billion, $6 billion. How come you could have done that to them people that are suffering? Within people who are your citizens. Have you not heard that your word is bond regardless to whom or what? And the answer is yes, my word is bond, and bond is life. And I will give my life before my word shall fail. You are failing the very people who are willing to give their lives for you. That's okay, huh? Because that's Israel. Man, if you don't get out of here with that foolishness, do you not know that age-old saying that charity starts at home, then it spreads abroad? You've got money and time for everybody. And then you're willing these people around the world in your military as if they're your personal cannon fodder. For somebody, if you don't like this person, you just move them over there, regardless of the effect that it has on their families. Because you say it's a national interest over there. You said it. Then you take your behind over there and defend it. Y'all, pardon me. I'm telling you, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Let me get back to this article. I'm passionate about the truth. It is crazy. Let me see if I can highlight some of these before I go back. Let me highlight some of these words in the chat. I'm sorry, everybody, for that. But I have to tell the truth about this stuff. And sometimes, shout out to Michael X. I didn't see him in the building. Shout out to Michael X. I didn't see you in the building. I'm sorry. I went on this rant because I'm passionate about the truth and what's right. What's right. We've got to get to doing what's right because so much has been built on what's wrong, what's expedient. I call this the microwave age because we want everything right now, fast, instead of thinking things through, which would be to the benefit of the very people you claim to be protected and looking out for. Let's go. Let me scroll up some. Medi, thank you. I have to put this up there. Thank you, Medi, for this one. 22 American veterans commit suicide every day. I want you to think about that. Let me see something real quick. Let's just take your numbers for a minute, okay? So, I want you to look at this. Medi says 22 veterans kill themselves every day. That adds up to 8,030 deaths per year, non-war deaths per year for the military. And America doesn't see that as a national security threat. What about the veterans who come home and don't have enough money to keep their mortgage going, their car notes going, and have to beg for food aid and stuff like this? Do you not know that you're promoting a war at home? I'm asking these people that. This is what causes a war at home. Listen, for real. I hope my buddy joins me. I sent him the link on both emails. They probably blocked it. They probably delaying to send to him. I sent it to him before the show started. Anyway, think about this. These people have been trained for war, right? And as they go in there, most of them have almost virgin thoughts when they go in there. And what I mean is, what they go in there thinking is, yes, I'm a patriot. I'm going to defend my country. I'm going to do this and do that, right? Then they come back from the war zone and they feel neglected and rejected by the very government and people that they were willing to give their all for, right? Then when the bills mount up, some of them, it's hard for them to adjust because of the environment that they had to deal with for months of deployments, multiple deployments, multiple war zones. Being away from your family, even if you're not in a war zone for X amount of time, Think about what this does to the psyche of a person. And when they come home, they have to deal with that. And then they have to face the fact that, I'm not making enough money. Even though I was willing to give my life, the government says my life is only worth $1,500 a month. Listen to me good. So that's all they're going to give me for my service. They're cutting my benefits. So now I got to go get food aid. I got to get a second job. I got to do this. I got a family. We're just above water. We're about to lose the house. We got to figure out which car we can keep. But we need both cars because my wife works or my husband works or whatever. We got to make some drastic choices, and our livelihood is at stake. And you mean to tell me I was willing to give my life for you, and you can't give me a second thought? Do you see the anger? Do you see that? Do you see the hopelessness that starts seeping in? That is the recipe for a civil insurrection and war at home. And the so-called intellectuals in Washington, D.C., they just keep stirring the pot and keep adding ingredients. They don't know when to take it off and let it simmer, take it off the fire and let it cool down. They continue to turn the heat up. And we're looking at a war at home that's in the makings. Remember, you heard it here. Because the people will start thinking about the freedoms and the privileges that they used to enjoy and that they used to have. And this will make anger rise up in her midst. We see it on a daily basis. And they're stripping you down of what freedoms that they said and they claimed that you had before. This is making anger rise up. These are the steps towards insurrection and civil war. I'm just keeping it real with you. Let's go further. Maddie, thank you for that number right there. Thank you so much. 8,030 people ending their own lives because they feel hopeless because the government that they said that they would go to war for and defend neglected them after they used them up. Now, I tell you what. Random Zeller says, hi, Rashid. Keep doing the good work. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let's go. Flying Crocodile says, let's face facts. The Zionists have corrupted and subverted what is good about Israel Orthodox Judaism back in the early 50s. Netanyahu is the devil's doorman. Is the devil's doorman. Oh man, I tell you what. Let's see. Let's go down a little bit. Medi says, preach. Bring the truth. Ecobella says, American government cares nothing about his own people. Mic drop moment. Every show, somebody in the chat gives us that mic drop moment. When we come to the realization that what they're telling us and what they're doing are not compatible. They're telling you how much they love you and how much they're about freedom and diverseness. And then they sense a diverse thought, diverse action, diverse opinion. And then they stymie freedom of action, freedom of movement, freedom of thought. Huh? Hell of a time to be alive, right? Michael X says exactly. He says they're devils. Let's see. Medi says, I'm standing on my chair, pumping my fist, and hoping my neighbor hear it. All right. Let's see. And Flying Crocodile say, hey, Medi, don't fall off. Let's see. And Medi says because they have no honor. None. No honor. How the hell can you, without conscience, send people thousands of miles away to fight for a cause that you know that is not right? And when you have used up their blood, sweat, and tears, bring them back, reject them, neglect them, and push them to the side as if they never existed. Man, stop it. I'm telling you, these are the ingredients for a war at home. And look, all of these veterans are going to start thinking about, oh man, maybe the government does not care. Look, when you look, listen, it's not even a thought. Look at the policies. Look at the policies. Forget what a person said. Look at the policies. And these people are trained for war. And when they can't get a job, can't feed their family, and they've given their all, they can't keep the bill, they're facing eviction or foreclosure or repossession. When people lose everything, they lose it, as Gerald Celente says. That is the truth. America is building the building blocks for total insurrection, civil war, and collapse within her own borders, while always talking about what's over there, what's over there, what's over there. All right. Let's see. Let's see. This is what is regional war imminent, or we like to see de-escalation? Well, I'm gonna tell you this. Say, for instance, we see de-escalation. Does that mean imminent war? I mean, war is not imminent. Will de-escalation deal with the underlying problems? Huh? What it is putting Band-Aid on cancer. You understand? What they're doing, they want to mask the problems. They don't want to address it. That's what anything. I talk about this all the time. The mainstream media doesn't want to address it. The alternative media doesn't want to address it. And I want to thank each and every one of you all for going into those chats of the big channels and forcing them to address the stuff with Israel and Palestine, to force them to address some of the stuff we were talking about on this show. I want to thank each and every one of y'all for doing that. All right. Let's see. So, these two are not mutually exclusive. You can have de-escalation and have a regional war. It's going to be a regional war. Because, listen, I know this is not something that people want to hear. Because there's injustice, so much injustice. In America, in the West, lies so much, I call them rugs. And they mask everything instead of leveling with the people and dealing with the hard problems. They push them to the back as if you'll never have to face them again. What causes people to have heart attacks? By suppressing anger or letting it build up, right? And then all of a sudden, boom, they're dead. Right? We're looking at a heart attack ready to happen in the Middle East. That's what we're looking at. And even if you suppress it, the seeds have been sown. And they have been fertilized in water, and we have had plenty of sunlight, so they're germinating now. It's germinating. And whether it's tomorrow or next year, it's going to come. And when it comes, it will be devastating. Because the longer you kick the can down the road, the more dug in each side will become. And that means the more violent and bloody the battle will be. All right? Let's go. But it says, or the veterans missing arms and legs from, yeah, I was trying not, maybe you said it though. I was trying not to say that because I didn't know if I would sound disrespectful. So I didn't say that. But since you're a veteran, I can now say that. And it says, or the veterans missing arms and legs from IEDs and being treated the way they are makes me pissed off. Where should piss anybody off? You know, think about it. Lindsey Graham and all of these people have never met a war that they did not like. Then if they want to bomb Iran, if they're so gung-ho, tell them, okay, we'll go to war, but put your family on the front lines first. Put your children, put your brothers and sisters and your family on the front line. And we'll see just how gung-ho you are. When it's my family and when it's my life, or we can be cannon fodder and you leveling threats at everybody. Let's see how brave you are when it's you. All right? Michael X says R.I.P. Saddam, R.I.P. RFK. Let's see. Let's see. World War II daughter 7 says, do you know we, the USA, pay for the salaries of, bam, another mic drop moment, that we pay for the salaries of everyone in Ukraine? Yes, yes. I think it's like 90% or 80%. The United States pays for the salary, and then the European Union steps in and they pay for a little bit of the other. And listen, since you brought that point up, let's go back to a point I made a while ago. All of the big channels want you to believe that Zelensky won't listen to his Western handlers. Now, see, things are blowing up now. They want you to believe that he is acting independently by going into Arkiamis or Bakhmut or the Kherson region or all of these other areas, right? Saying that he and his general, he's telling his generals to do X, Y, and Z. I often say, when America has the purse strings, when has she ever allowed a puppet to buck up against her when she's doing the puppeteering? Tell me that. And these people know better. These alternative media channels, they know better, but they feed you this line of garbage. They know that. America's not going to pay all government and military salaries, arm you with 90+% of all the weapons you have, give you intelligence, all your intelligence, embed your military with Western special forces, embed your intelligence service with CIA and Western intelligence services, and then allow you to buck up against what she's saying. Come on, stop this. Stop it. To show you how brutal America is, look at what they did to one of their own kind, JFK. When he wasn't healed to the wishes of the military-industrial complex. Look what they did to him. And you want me to believe Mr. Stripper is bucking up against the United States and the UK? Man, stop this. Don't insult our intelligence with that. Oh, Holly, I didn't know this. I gotta put this, I was getting ready to read something, but as soon as I looked down, I saw Holly's point. I gotta highlight this. Holly says, last I read, 33% of veterans are homeless. Now, remember the point that the Congressional Budget Office came to, their findings came to, that it would take America $20 billion to completely eradicate homelessness across America. She has given Ukraine over $200 billion in all. That's not one time. That's not 5 times. That's 10 times the amount that it would take to eradicate the homeless in America. You don't think that's contemptuous towards the people of America, contemptuous towards the people who served in the armed forces, who are close to being evicted or foreclosed on them? You don't think that? This is crazy. These people are crazy as hell. A veteran is sitting over there wondering how they're going to pay their bills, and they serve 3, 4, 5 tours of duty in Afghanistan, 3, 4, 5 duties in Iraq, all this stuff. And then you can find the money for old Zelensky. Man, if you don't stop this, man, I tell you. Eco Brother said, but they send billions to Ukraine and Israel. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Michael X says, devils, absolutely, positively. Medi says, let me take this down. He's talking to somebody else on there, so let me take that off real quick. No, I didn't know that. We even pay for their Social Security. Whoa, let me put that up there. See, I told you we all learn from each other. World War II daughter 7 says we even pay with our Social Security, and the people over here can't get Social Security. Or if you get Social Security, the government wants to make the world believe that you are like a beggar, like you asking for a handout when they've been stealing money out of your check ever since you came into the workforce. They want people to believe that this is a handout to you when you've paid into the system. And then they give you the minimum amount of that. And then they go over there and gladly give Social Security to people who are 9,000 miles away. That's not contempt. World War II daughter 7 says, I ain't paying for no 4 million veterans, probably without a limb they said they have today. Man, oh man. God, no, I didn't know it. Oh man. BB is a demon. My bishop told me. Collie Beans, shout out to Collie Beans. Let's see. He put some in the chat. I got to put up here. Travis Mills Foundation is one way to help our veterans. Why are we waiting for our government to help them, which they never will? None of their kids die in war. Mic drop moment. Let's see. And Holly Horn says, yes, Travis Mills is legit. So I'm putting that up there. So again, and we look at this war. I was watching some person yesterday. They were giving a good rundown of the incidents in the crisis in Palestine. But at the 40-minute mark of their conversation, 39-minute or the 40-minute mark, for 7 minutes, they offered their opinion, which we all have a right to. But the opinion was not a sound one. The explanation was not sound. The understanding was not sound at all. At all. So hopefully tomorrow or tonight I can get some clips cut up and we can address that. Maybe and listen, when I do address it, I'm going to play what that person said. And I'm going to play what I said. Okay, the clips. And I'm going to pull up the facts, all right, so that I'm not attacking the person. I want the people to know before we even do the show, I'm not attacking the person because I actually listened to the person. All right, I respect the person. I'm not attacking, but I'm attacking the argument that the person made yesterday. Okay, the argument, not the person. So don't think that this would be a frontal attack on a person. I don't get down like that. You know, we all are men and women, and we should be able to accept criticism because we're not always right on everything. Ken Chow, what's up, my guy? Serious business, salute. Yeah, they're in the chat too. I thank you all for joining us. Now, they want you to believe that Gaza and Hamas instigated this. And what blew my mind is one of these people that said that. Well, I won't say it because if I say it, then without the clips, it will look like an attack. And I'm not attacking anybody. Okay, I want to play what the person said, and I want to dissect it for you. Okay, I'm gonna try to do that. God willingly, I'll be able to do that. I don't want it to look as though I'm attacking anybody. I actually respect some of the opinions of the person. Okay, but I do think that 7-minute diatribe was way off base, biased, and ignored international law, the reality on the ground, and did not put any weight to Israeli war crimes and Israeli antagonizing and provocations against the Palestinians. And so I want to put it all in perspective, and God willingly, I'll do that maybe on the next show if we get a chance to. But let's see. Okay, who? Oh, they're talking, and I can't catch everything. They're talking about RFK Jr., I believe. Now, there's so many. Again, let me go to something. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. It says U.S. Treasury Secretary again says U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Monday that Washington can certainly afford to support wars on two fronts, separate fronts, saying that its coffers are in good shape now. The debt is $34 trillion, the acknowledged debt, right? You have public debt over $2 trillion, I believe. You have student debt over $1.4 trillion, right? You have the United States deficit spending, right? And it's the largest and the greatest debtor nation in the history, not in the past 10 decade or 5 decades or even 10 decades, but they are the greatest debt to nation in the history of the world, right? You have U.S. interest payments alone on the debt close to $1 trillion. You have U.S. tax revenues all but ceasing to exist, right? Now, if we have that, and we have all of these bubbles, from the housing to the used car to the new car to everything, how is that statement even sound? How is that statement even rational? Or they must be delusional, and they must be trying to make you delusional by saying that. Listen to this again. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Monday that Washington can certainly afford to support 2 wars on 2 separate fronts, saying that its coffers are in good shape. Now, hold on 1 second. Let me pull something up, okay? Okay. According to the dictionary, the word coffer is a noun, and plural is coffers. It means a strong box or small chest for holding valuables. All right? Now, it says, I'm going to say it again, a strong box or small chest for holding valuables. Now, has America allowed anybody in the Fort Knox to audit it? Nope. Do you believe America still has gold in Fort Knox? Like, who was that? One of them said that America does have gold in there, but it's just like coins in buckets. All right. So you're deficit spending, and you're projecting more deficit spending, and you're borrowing from everybody. You're borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, who just borrowed from Mary to pay Magdalene. And you're telling me that everything's good, and you got the tangible assets in a lockbox. Man, stop this. Stop playing on people's intelligence. If your coffers were sound, why do you have to borrow from everybody? Let's use common sense for a minute. If I told you I was rich, right, and I had $50 million, right, why would I have to borrow from everybody to pay my bills? Why do I have to project deficits on my children and my children's children and my children's children? I have to sign papers saying, when my grandchildren come here, you can take that kidney from this one. You can take the kidney from that one. You can take the liver from that one. You can take the eyeball from that one. Yet I'm rich. Does that make sense to you? No, because it's not rational. Let's go a little further. And by the way, Russia threatened to strike U.S. Satellites too. I want y'all to understand that. I'm gonna bring that up in a minute. Okay, so we'll go to that in a few minutes. It says, America can certainly afford to stand with Israel and to support Israel's military needs. Now, stop right there. America can certainly afford to stand with Israel and support Israel's military needs. Yet she won't stand with her own soldiers and support her own armed forces needs. She won't stand with her own citizens and support her own citizens' needs. She won't stand with her future inventors, lawyers, doctors, architects, politicians, scientists, and relieve the student debt on their back. But she can stand with Israel and support Israel's needs. I just wanted to put that out there while we're reading this. And we can also and must support Ukraine in its struggle against Russia. So you can find the time, the money, and the wherewithal to support them. But you can't support your future politicians, lawyers, doctors, architects, leaders, teachers and stuff. You can't support them. You can't support those who come back from war zones, who are hurting, those veterans who have suffered and who are suffering. You can't support that. You can't support the average American who can barely make it. But you can support Israel and Ukraine's struggle against Russia. This is a let them eat cake moment, everybody. This is a let them eat cake moment. You understand? This is a let them eat cake moment. This is a let them eat cake moment. You understand me? I'm telling you, this is a let them eat cake moment. Most people don't want to understand, don't want to accept this, but this is a let them eat cake moment. All right, check this out. So, let's see. Let me go back to this real quick. Hold on 1 second. Let me find this article. 1 second, okay? 1 second. This article, let's see, where is it? Where's that article at? Hold on 1 second, everybody. And the reason I went to this picture is because I'm wiping my camera too. My camera's acting crazy. So hold on 1 second. And all right. Let's see. All right, there we go. All right, there we go. I'm sorry, everybody. I was trying to clean that camera. I'm sorry. Let's go further. Yellen said in a Monday interview with UK broadcaster Sky News in advance of a meeting with Eurogroup finance ministers in Luxembourg. Yellen added that the United States financial outlook is sufficient to back its allies abroad. Its financial outlook. Man, stop it. Stop that. Its financial outlook, even though all of the economic barometers have deteriorated to a level that it is unbelievable. But she says this, and she wants you to believe that. That is what she's doing. Let me give you an example of what she's doing. She's going through the pig farm, scooping up feces, putting it on an ice cream cone, and sprinkling it with sprinkles and sugar. And she wants you to eat it and wants you to make you to believe that it's chocolate ice cream. You understand? How that is the I'm telling you, these people don't respect your intelligence. There's no flipping way they could. No way on earth. No way. No way for them to be able to do that. No, sir. Let's go here. I got so many articles that I have emailed that I want to address, but let me try this real quick. Let me finish up a little bit on this article. We'll go over to what I just told you, and then we'll bring the show to a close after we talk about Russia. And look, it says, Yellen added that the United States financial outlook is sufficient to back its allies abroad. However, she warned that the potential economic ramifications of a larger conflict in the Middle East remains unknown, particularly amid an already volatile global oil and gas market that has contributed to a cost of living crisis in several Western economies in the past year. So on one hand, she said everything is okay. On the other hand, she said everything has deteriorated. All right? These people are outright liars. Remember, for them to get these positions and to want to keep these positions, they got to be psychopaths. They got to be psychopaths. Some of these people get in these positions and stay in them 10, 20, 30 years. Play musical chairs. Because they're psychopaths. Right? They want power and they lust power. They're addicted to it. They get kicks off of it. They get their rocks off of power. So, let's see. What in the world? Let's see. Yeah, Flying Crocodile said we spent $500 billion more in just 1 month. I'm telling you. Shout out to Majid. Free Palestine. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Serious Biz says I was at Fort Knox in 91 when I was in the army, and I think it was already gone. Man, listen to me good. Somebody, a knowledgeable person, a very knowledgeable person, told me that the gold in Fort Knox was gone. It had been gone in so long since the 60s. Knowledgeable person, and I'm telling you, you can put when they say something, you can set your watch to what they say. Everything that they have ever told me has been true. Everything. And they told me that the gold had been gone so long that America didn't know what it looked like. So Fort Knox, they may have a couple coins or a couple bullion, but remember that the UK and the US were caught settling their debt in tungsten. And most people don't know what tungsten is. Tungsten is a metal alloy like gold, has the same consistency of gold, has the same weight. All of that stuff has the same color as gold. And what the US and the UK were doing, because they had leased out all the gold and they didn't want the people to know it, they were selling. I mean, they were that's Rashid right here. He's talking to me. They were making gold bullions, but they were tungsten bullions, bars, big bars, and they were made them clad with gold, maybe a half-inch thick, and there was pallets of them. And then when they got caught, they tried to blame it on the Chinese. But then they traced the serial numbers and traced everything back to the Bank of London and the U.S. gold reserve, gold exchange, whatever. Yeah, they have been doing that for years, settling their gold, because banks and higher institutions settle their stuff in gold, not in paper. They settled in gold and silver. And that's how it was found out. And that's when people really started questioning the United States and the UK's economic standing. Okay. Now let's see. BRICS and SCO says, we know the problem in the United States, but how are we going to fix the broken system? Do a video on that. It can't be fixed. It can't be. There is a mathematical impossibility. You understand what I'm saying? All right. Listen. Let me try to put it in a small terms so that everybody can get this. When you have alienated everybody, and you've raped and pillaged the world, and you've done any and everything to cement your power at the cost of everybody's happiness, sovereignty, territorial integrity, livelihood, and culture, you make enemies. And if you continue to do it, the enemies that you make pass down their hatred for you for generations. And the more you spend, the more in debt you become. When you find, so you're digging a hole. They say when you're in a deep hole, stop digging. America is she believes that if she can dig enough, she'll dig her way to the other side of the globe. She's dug such a big financial hole for her that it's a mathematical impossibility for her to extricate herself from this, which means in turn that those economies and those nations that are hitched to the U.S. empire wagon of imperialism and colonialism, when the dominoes fall, guess what happens? They too fall. They too fall. So, so it's. I played the video. I played it several times about the economic predicament that America finds herself in, that she found herself in over 10 years ago, when her real debt, according to a professor of economics, was $222 trillion. I did a show about this and everything. And now the debt is, look at this number right here. If this does not signify the trouble that America's in, at the time, America's GDP was $11 trillion. And when he came out with these writings, he said that America's unfunded liabilities and everything were an estimated $222 trillion, right? So then, and at that time, he was talking about prior to when he was talking about. So at the time, he said, now we talk about another few years, right? And then we say, We got to double that. The same time frame that went, we got to double that at least, because her spending habit has not tapered off. So it went to $444 trillion, right? And now, when we add that another 11 to it, the 11 years that passed, we have to add that her debt is what? 33 trillion, right? That's what she says. So now, if her debt was 11 trillion and she was at 222 trillion, and then her debt went to 22 trillion, but we had to double that, so that means 444 trillion, and now her debt is at what? 33 trillion. Guess what the number is? 666 trillion, right? What is it? The math, 666, right? She's not extricating herself from this predicament. Because listen, even if the entirety of the whole world gathered together and put their economic prowess with it, the world global economy is roughly $100 and some trillion. They can't extricate her from this. They can't extricate the EU from this. You're gonna have to pay the price now. You got to pay the piper. You've got to pay the piper. It's going to be something devastating. Again, I continue to tell you that Gregory Mannarino from TradersChoice.net told me personally, and he told me on my show, that when this thing collapses, it will be more deadlier than a nuclear exchange. The loss of life will be greater than a nuclear exchange because people will starve to death. The violence in the streets, all of that stuff there. This is an economist. This is somebody who deals with this stuff, investing in stuff. And he's telling you what it's going to look like. Man, I'm telling you, there's no extricating yourself from this. When you put yourself in it, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. Now, let me go over here real quick before we close out. This article says, and again, thank you all for joining me. I wasn't planning on doing it this long, but thank you for joining me and staying with me. Russia threatens to strike U.S. space infrastructure. This was published today. Orbital facilities used to help Ukraine could become legitimate targets, a foreign ministry official has said. Western space satellites being used to aid Ukraine forces could become legitimate targets for Russian strikes, the foreign ministry in Moscow warned on Monday. Speaking to reporters, the ministry's director for non-proliferation and arms control, Vladimir Ermakov, claimed that the U.S. and its allies are helping Ukraine in ways which go beyond the harmless use of space technologies. Obviously, the United States and its allies are not fully aware that such activities actually constitute indirect participation in armed conflicts, Ermakov stated. He cautioned that Western quasi-civilian infrastructure in space could quite logically become the target of a retaliatory strike. That's what's in the news. So, hold on, let me look in here. Serious business, I believe that, fam. Let's see. Oh man, there's so many. Listen, I'm trying to get to your question. Okay. I can't get to it. God, dog, this thing is going fast. Let's see. Let me go up. Let me scroll up because it's going so fast. They need to stop this from jumping like it's jumping. It said, Randomly Zerg says, some say buy gold and canned food. I say buy seeds and learn to plant them just in case. I say all of the above, but I say before more than anything. You're going to need food to eat. You're going to need water to drink. You're going to need clothes. You're going to need all the basic necessities of life. But more than anything else, the most crucial part of a survival plan is to include God. Because he's the only one that's going to see you through this. You can have all the weapons that you want. Look what happened to Saddam Hussein when he went against America. He had a standing million-man army. Did that stop the United States from deposing him and destroying Iraq? No. You've got to have God. And if you don't have God in this, All of your planning is for naught. It's for naught. Listen, thank you all for joining. I know the time is limited. We're going to continue this discussion tomorrow. Thank you all for joining me on another edition of the most powerful platform for truth anywhere, bar none, on the face of God's green earth. This is your brother Rashid. I love you more than life if you love truth. But remember that the love that I have for you pales in comparison to the love that my God has for you. Until we next speak again, stay strong, stay true, but above all things, stay righteous. Thank each and every one of you from the bottom of my heart to the depth of my soul for joining me and for engaging in this serious but efficient and effective conversation. Hey, mama, your baby boy loves you more than life. Deuces, everybody. I'm